Welcome back to Hazawi, episode 5. I had the pleasure of speaking with Ali Alhabshi. He is a polyglot who speaks multiple languages, a person who speaks multiple languages. He speaks French, English, Arabic, which is his mother tongue, and also is learning German right now. He is a very, very interesting person. We talked about his journey in language learning, his upbringing in Yemen, then traveling to France to do his bachelor's degree there through a scholarship he got, not because he was a very good student where he got very good grades, but because he had an extra language in his arsenal. And at the time, it was only French, and he also had English, but this is why he got the scholarship. We also talk about he takes me as a case study where he talks about the challenges and the mistakes that people make when they try to learn a new language, and he takes me as a case study with Spanish, which tried to learn for a very long time. Took 2 years of Spanish in college. Worked at a bodega or at a grocery store in Harlem, and Spanish Harlem, and where obviously most of the residents were Spanish speaking, and they still do not speak Spanish. Understand some of it, like most New Yorkers, but can't hold a real conversation. So he points out the mistakes that I made, and the mistakes that universities usually make when they try to teach students languages. We also talk about his YouTube journey. He creates content on YouTube in Arabic about language learning, self-help, and other stuff. And we talk about where that started, where is it now, and where he intends to take it, and a little bit about social media. I really enjoyed having the conversation with Ali. I hope you enjoy listening to it. In the meantime, thank you for listening and keep on creating. Ali Al-Habashi, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate you coming to Hazawi and working with the different time zone. I believe you're in France now, and it is 12 a.m. right now. In New York is 6 p.m. So I appreciate you making the time.
No, it's fine. I'm glad to be here. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. I thought for us to start about yourself, tell me or tell the listeners about your upbringing, where you grew up, and teen years, and what do you do now?
All right. So, Bismillah. So this question, well, I grew up in Yemen, specifically in Hadramaut region, and in the city of Sayoun, if you know it. And I studied there. I did my whole study there until high school. I did my high school at Thanwiya Nawadjiya, which is a very good school in my city. And after high school, I got a scholarship to study in France. So I moved to France since 2019. And I started studying here in France my bachelor's in applied languages and international business. And I'm currently now in the last year of bachelor's. Um, so next year I'm planning to do my master's as well, maybe international business. I'm not sure yet. So that's a quick like intro about me. And if you have like specific questions, I can like specify.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Trust me. I thought for you to talk about your main interest about languages because I know, and I
Mhm.
believe this is how you got the scholarship, and that was
Yeah,
sort of like selling point. Talk to me about
true.
your language journey.
All right. So I must start with something. Like I must say that I was not a good student at all when I was in elementary school, and so I was not that kind of student who likes to study. And one of the worst subjects for me was English. So I hated English when I was a kid. I do remember that when I was like 12 or 13, maybe. So at that time, I didn't want to learn English. I thought that it's not useful at all. So yeah, I was not that good a student, you know. And but at the ninth class, so that's the class before high school in Yemen, I started thinking about the future. That's the time when I started thinking about the future. I said to myself, well, Ali, what do you want to do after high school? Do you want to stay in Yemen and study in Yemen, or do you want to study abroad maybe? And so at that time, I started thinking about my future. And it was at that time as well when I was loving playing video games. But video games are always in English. So when I was playing these games, I didn't understand what was happening in the game. You had to do some missions and stuff, and my English was bad. So that was my motivation actually to start learning English. It was like to pass this game or that game. It was not for the future. That was one of what motivated me to start learning English, and also thinking about the future and doing a scholarship, maybe studying abroad in the US, maybe, or even in Europe. And in high school, I started like studying a lot and trying to do my best. And it was also at that time when my English got better. Like I practiced English a lot. I was watching movies and stuff, so I think I improved my English a lot. And in that time, I found out that many people do speak English as well. Like everyone speaks English now, So what will make me like what will give me the advantage over others? So I started thinking about other languages. I thought like, what if I speak three languages? If I was good with English in 3 years or something, I learned English and I got to a very good level in English. I thought like, why not learn another language on my own? Of course, not going to a school or something. I did that with English. So I thought what language I could learn, and I don't know why, but I chose French. Like I thought French would be the best choice. I like the way they speak. I don't know why. I like the accent. So I started learning French on my own on YouTube, like watching just this simple videos, taking notes, and that was in high school. So I started learning French after 2 years. So in the last year of high school, my French was not that bad. It was not good either, but like it was okay. And at that time, I think you will ask me later about social media and my start in YouTube. But that just like at that time, I just bought the camera in front of me, and I did a video in French. I spoke in French, entirely in French. My French was bad, to be honest. Like for native speakers hearing me, there were like a lot of mistakes, and you could imagine that, like not just learning on my own. But I had friends like in some applications who were from Africa, from Europe, from France and Switzerland, and they spoke like their native language was French. So I wanted to show them my level in French. So I spoke in front of the camera, like I introduced myself and stuff like that, and then I bought the video on YouTube. And so I sent the link to these friends and I asked them, could you like, do you understand me? Do you understand what I'm saying? Am I speaking French? So and I actually spoke French. Like they told me you're speaking very good. We understand you. There were some mistakes, but they said like you're okay. So you could like go on and continue learning French and improving your French. And that motivated me to start my YouTube channel. But that's another story. So at that time, I started learning French. I was already speaking three languages, and yeah, I was also like trying to learn some words from other languages, like German specifically. And when I came in France, like when I got the scholarship to study here in France, I chose applied languages and international business. So in the university, I learned also German. So that's like was my start in German as well. So now I speak like intermediate German. I'm not like perfect in German, but I do speak German. So yeah, I think yeah.
So that's Arabic, French, German, and English.
Yeah, these are the main languages that like I'm trying to say I speak. I have some interest in other languages, but I can't say I'm speaking them. I just understand them maybe.
How long did it take you to learn it? I'm struggling with this, right? Because I've tried to learn Spanish. English for me came very easy because I moved to the US with my family. I went to high school. So I picked up the language very quickly. I was young, I was 13, 14. So it was just a matter of me just being, my dad's grocery store in high school. And so I just picked it up. I like remember the struggle of learning the language, but it wasn't intentionally learning. I was just trying to survive it and not being made fun of. You learned a language from YouTube. How long did it take you to say, all right, I speak English? You said 3 years. How about for French? How long did it take you?
Okay, so I must say something. Many people ask me in my YouTube channel. They ask me a very common question. They tell me, how long does it take me? Will it take me to learn this language or that language? And the answer for this question, there is no like a specific time. There is a time for each one of us. Like it depends on the time you put for this language, and how fast you learn a certain language. So it depends on each one. But for me, like as I said, I started learning French in high school in the first year, I think, and I got to like upper intermediate level, maybe like in 3 years and a half, or maybe or 4 years even. Like after finishing high school, I had more time to learn French, and so I studied a lot. So I didn't start university like after finishing high school. I had a gap year, and after that year I started like I moved to France. So in that year I learned a lot of French, I practiced a lot. And when I came here in France, I was like with the 30 of my friends, like we got the scholarship to come here in France. And my friends, they didn't speak a word in French. Like they had like it was very difficult for them to communicate in France. People, they don't speak English. So that's so that's like for my friends, their English was not that good. And also people here, they don't speak English, so you have to speak French. So for my friends it was very hard. But for me, coming here, like I did understand the language, and it was very easy for me to pick the language. And even it took me, I think, 3 months, studying in institute. And after that, I got the certificate, which is like TOEFL, uh, like the certificate to study in the university here in France. So for to answer your question, I think it's like 3 years and a half, 4 years to get upper intermediate level.
So I'm gonna give you a scenario. So I like I said before, I tried to learn Spanish. This is what I did. I took 2 years of university classes. I live in a city where 50% of their residents here speak Spanish. I worked in grocery stores where the predominant, residents around the area were Spanish speaking people, and I still can't speak Spanish. I can't even hold a conversation in Spanish. Maybe I can understand a lot of it, at least the daily conversation part of it, but I can't hold a conversation in Spanish. What did I do wrong?
Were you interested in the language itself?
So I was interested in the language, and I can't lie that the classes that I took that away from me. I felt as if I was more focused on like getting the grade, not messing up my GPA because it was in my later years of university, of college, and then I did not want my GPA to go down, and so I was intensely trying to get a good grade. So I can admit that. Maybe that now that we're talking about it, I'm
Yeah.
realizing that was the
So
mistake.
yeah, you see, like when I said like when I learned French, I didn't have grades for French. Like I was in high school, there was no subject French. I didn't have any grades or something. I was learning it on my own. It was like just an interest. So there was nothing that motivates me. It was just me motivating myself. And I think like for your case, studying Spanish with grades, like in a class, that's like the motivation has to come from yourself. So that's the mistake, I think. Like not just with Spanish, with anything. When you learn anything, if you're not motivated, like there's no like, how to say, like something else pushing you to learn this language. If it is you, like if it is like yourself motivating yourself, you will get to the your goal. I was here in the institute in these 3 months. I had friends from some countries, and they were spending 3 years in the institute in France, and they didn't like get even to the intermediate level. And of course, you might ask why. That's why, like, the reason why was that like the scholarship was forcing them to learn French, and they hated French. They didn't want to learn French. They were having like French classes and all, but they were not interested in the language itself. So of course, like if you don't have motivation, you won't like learn the language for sure, even if you lived like in the heart of Spain or in the heart of France or whatever.
Are there steps that someone can follow that makes the learning process easier to learn a new language?
Like many people ask me like if you want to learn two languages at the same time or not. Let's just say like you're learning one language, not two languages, because if you're learning two languages, then I have some advice like from my own experience. Like when I started learning German, my French was not that good even, so I was in the same time learning also French. So I was learning French and German. But let's say you're learning Spanish, you're willing to learn Spanish. What you can do, first of all, try to avoid classes. Try to avoid grammar. Grammar is just pushing students away from the language. Let's just be honest. You know, grammar. Grammar is just something boring. It's just like you put this word after this word. It's not mathematics. It's language. So if you want to learn the language, the first thing you have to do is to listen to the language. Like, let's say you want to learn, I don't know, Russian, like a language you know nothing about. The first thing you have to do, it's not learning the grammar of the language. It's not like memorizing the alphabet if it is like a different alphabet. The first, which is a mistake that a lot of language schools do. They start with the alphabet, like something boring. So the thing you have to do is learn to listen to the language, even if you don't understand anything. The thing is, when you listen to the language, your ear starts to adapt to the language, to understand how it works, how they pronounce the words. And that's what kids do. Like the kid, when the first thing he does is just listening. He doesn't start writing or reading or speaking for like few months. He just listens. So the first thing you have to do if you want to learn a language, you have to listen to the language a lot, even if you don't understand. And after that, you might start just learning the basics of the language, how to say hi, how to introduce yourself. You don't have to understand like the grammar, just memorize it. As you said, like when you were a kid, when you learned English, you didn't start learning like the grammar and all. You just said it, you just did it. And that's how you learn a language. And that's what I did with French. Like I was not just like watching YouTube videos, taking notes. No, I was just listening to the language at the beginning. Then immediately I started speaking. I started saying my name is Ali. I'm from Yemen. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I didn't understand like the grammar, like what each word meant, but I did understand the phrases, and that's the third advice. Memorize phrases, don't memorize words. That's a big mistake a lot of people do. And even me, I did it like at the beginning when I started learning English. I like many people do what many people do, like they take their notebook and they start like car means this word in Arabic, table means this word, and that's not useful at all. Stop doing that. What you have to do is like you want to learn the word car. What you have to do is like I have a red car. That's good thing. You have to memorize that. Memorize phrases, not words. So that's something that will help you a lot when you learn a new language. And so as I don't remember what I said, like listening at the beginning and then memorizing phrases, not words. And after all that, you might start to speak like I mean sorry, to learn the grammar, but the basic grammar. After you start like speaking, like now you can introduce yourself, say some basic stuff. Now you might learn the grammar, like the ideas behind the grammar, not just like don't get deep in the grammar, like in the tenses and all. you might just understand the structure of the phrase. Maybe that would be useful in some languages, like in German. That's something hard. You have to learn it. So it depends sometimes on the language. Um, so yeah, these are some tips for people willing to start learning a new language.
So I made all the mistakes. I started by learning the grammar, which was, I guess, the fault of the classes that I was taking. Um, I I used to memorize words. I actually had index cards for all the words. I would have on one side of the index card the word in Spanish, and then behind it I will have the definition. And then I will be on the train or on the bus, and like I will memorize them and flip them aside or whatever. So I made that mistake too. And but then so okay, you memorize phrases, not words. You memorize. Don't emphasize on grammar, but listen a lot. If you want to practice, how
That's
do
a
you
very good
practice what
question.
you have learned?
Specifically, when you live in a country, in an environment that does not help you to learn this language. Like as I said, like I started learning English in Yemen, and you already know that in Yemen we don't speak that good English, and like yeah, and you can imagine with French, no one speaks French. They don't even know what language that is. It's, at least like in the part of Yemen where I come from. So, how do you learn English in a very like in an environment where you can't like it's not helping you? So, if you remember what I said at the beginning, I had friends from other countries. Like I was speaking with them like if they were like in the same room with me, and that is the internet. So the blessing of the internet, you can use that in your advantage. Now with the internet, you can do stuff like people like in the past they couldn't do, like talking with the native speakers, texting them if the internet was bad in your house. You could even like trying to text them at least. Um, so the first thing is like trying to keep in touch with the native speakers using the internet. That's the first thing. The second thing I didn't mention at the beginning, like with English specifically, like when I was in school, I said like I was interested in video games, and that was the thing that motivated me to improve my English. At that time, I had a friend in my class in the elementary school. His name was Abdullah, and we met and we were talking in Arabic, of course. And he told me that he was also interested in games. But for him, his English was very good. Like he was like watching movies, playing video games, and his English was perfect, to be honest. And I was amazed. Like I did, how did he do it? Like, like now you can pass all the missions. Like you can do all this. And how did you do it? And he said, like I was just watching movies. He said all the tips I said before. So he did all that. So yeah, from that time I started learning English, like trying to like in the game, not skipping the show in the game. Like there are like short clips, you know. So I was trying to understand what they are saying, putting subtitles in English, trying to understand each word. And so the thing is, try to have a friend in your environment that will push you, like to try to speak with them in English. Like this friend, he's now one of my best friends, and until now, even WhatsApp, like when we're texting only in English, never in Arabic. I don't know why, but like we got used to it, and that's the good thing. That was one of the big things that improved my English, like practicing a lot with him. So try to have a friend in your environment. Try to text or speak with native speakers. Um, and the third thing is some people think the word practice means speaking. And for me, that's what something I said. Like I just thought about it. Practice does not mean speaking only. You can practice when you listen to the language. Like when you listen to the language, you're practicing the language actually. When you read the language, you're practicing the language. What I mean here with the word practice is that you are just like doing something with the language, specifically listening. Because you know, in languages, we have four basic skills. In order like of importance, we start with listening, then speaking, then reading, then writing. So if you listen a lot, you will be able to speak. If you read a lot, you will be able to write. So don't do something stupid starting learning writing if you want to improve your reading. That is just stupid. Like, you have to start reading if you want to improve your writing. If you want to improve your speaking, that's logically like start listening a lot. Listen to people speaking, watch movies, watch programs in English, and that's how your mind or your ear will pick the idioms and all, and then you will just speak it like naturally.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's what that is. Um, I had a question about because earlier I asked you about how long does it take to learn a new language. You said depends. Each language has its own um, time. So, from learning all these different languages that you've learned, what is the hardest thing that you've noticed about learning a language, or does every language has a different, challenges, and what are those?
Very, very good question. I'm glad you asked me this question. um, because I'm so happy that English is the international language of the world. Because imagine if it was German. I mean, uh, languages are different. The difficulty of the language is different from a language to another. Let's take an example between like English and German, which by the way come from the same family of languages. Like each language is coming from a certain family. Like English and German are coming from the same family, which is Germanic languages. If although they come from the same family of languages, they are very different, specifically in grammar. For example, in German, the verb comes at the end of the phrase always. So it's not like at the second position, it comes at the end. So if you want to say something, you have to finish the whole phrase. You have to finish the whole sentence in order for the other person to understand what you are saying, because the verb is at the end. So that's something like about the grammar, the weird grammar they have. And also they have three genders. Like each word you have to memorize the gender, not like in Spanish you have two genders. In German you have three. And a lot of grammar stuff like that, that's hard. So it depends actually on the language. Each language, like English is a very easy language. If you start learning another language, I think like from your experience starting learning Spanish, even Spanish is harder than English. So English is a very easy language in comparison with other languages like French, Spanish, German. So it depends actually on the language. So some languages are harder, like German, and Scandinavian languages like Swedish and Dutch and all that. And some languages are much easier, like English is an easy language. So it depends on the languages. There are hard languages that are known in the world, like Arabic, Chinese, German. These are hard languages. Intermediate languages, like intermediate level, French, Italian, Spanish, maybe. Yeah, and I would say easy languages, English.
So, I want to ask you about the world that these languages have opened for you, because obviously languages come with culture. They come with more than just words and having to speak to people. What worlds have these whether it's French, German, or even English have opened for you? And is there like stories in these languages that have made you appreciate your access to these new cultures?
Interesting. So I know some people saying that you don't have to learn a language, sorry. So some people say if you know English, that's fine. You don't have to learn another language. English is spoken everywhere, although that's not the case in some parts of the world. But so you have to learn. What I say is that you have to learn other languages, because what I got when I learned French, one of the big advantages, as I said before, when I came here in France, I found out that most people don't speak English. So that was the first advantage. I got to speak with these people in their own language, and they appreciated that. Like when they asked me, "Where do you come from?" Like they expected me coming from Algeria or Morocco. That was like they said, "Oh, you come from Morocco, right?" Because in Morocco, as you know, they speak French there. I said I come from Yemen. and they knew Yemen, like from the situation now in Yemen. So, but they didn't know that people speak French there. But I told them, no, I just learned the language, and they appreciated that. They liked it. Imagine someone coming to you, telling you something in Arabic, someone American, or you would be very happy, So learning like the local language of another culture, like that gets to, like, I got connections, like French people who speak English but not very good English. If you spoke with them in English, they, like, you would just communicate with them, but your words will not go to their hearts. Like, there is a saying for Nelson Mandela. He says, if you talk to a man in a language, in his own language, that word will go to his head. If you talk to him, sorry, if you talk to him in another language, like in a common language, like English, the word will go to his head. If you talk to him in his own language, the word will go to his heart. And I did see that myself. Like when I spoke with people, like some people, like friends, like in my age, in the university, for example, in French, we got, like, we're now best friends because I spoke with them in their own language. If you spoke with them in English, you would just communicate with them, but you wouldn't be friends with them. And I understand that, when you speak with someone in his own language, that's the big difference. So that's another thing. You will get connections, like friends. I mean, when you speak with people in their own languages, and that's the same thing when you speak German. Like last year, I was doing exchange in Austria, and which is something many people, they don't know. In Austria, they speak German, their native language. So I was trying to speak with some people in German, and that's the same thing. Like we're now friends. Like we're still texting, and that's a good thing when you speak with some people. So that's the second advantage. The third advantage is that you will get to read in that language. That's not the case for me in German. My German is still intermediate. I can't like read a lot of text in German, but now I can do that in French. And in French, there are many many books, many movies and stuff in French. There is a lot of art, and I can't do that in French. And some people will say, oh, okay, you can do that in English. I mean, it's translated in English, but still, with translation, translation like removes some parts, like that it cannot be translated. So reading in the local language is very different thing. And I'm still young, but I think like in the future, if I apply for a French company, that will be a big advantage for me as well, like, or multinational company or something. So these are some advantages, and there are a lot of advantages, like also for your health, like the Alzheimer, you can avoid it when you learn many languages, and there are a lot of advantages. But these are what comes to
Yeah.
mind right now.
Where you gave it a sort of order of importance, listening, reading, and then listening, reading, listening, speaking, reading, and then writing.
Speaking,
Where does accent
yeah.
fall in that order of importance, or when do you start paying attention to improving your accent? I mean, I'm realizing that you've never lived in a country where they speak predominantly English, but your accent is better than a lot of people who even live here and try to learn English here.
Well, that's a question, and many people fight over that question. Those people who learning languages, some people say accent is important, so you have to learn accent. Some people say no, you don't learn the accent. Just try to speak, try to communicate. For me, I'm in the middle. What I think is accent is important, but not that important. So for me, for example, when I started learning English, I didn't pay attention to accent at all. Like I was trying to understand the language, to understand, like to listen to the language, and most of what I was listening to basically was in American English. And that's the what we have. Like most of the movies are in American English. So automatically, I think my accent got like similar to American English and not British, for example. And for some people, when they started learning the language, they just listened a lot to British English. So what I think is that you don't have to focus on the accent at the beginning. That's what I'm saying. Like at the beginning, when you start learning a language, and that's a mistake many people do. Some people, they don't know English. They don't know how to introduce yourself like probably properly. What they say, like, now should I learn British accent or American accent? What I tell them, try to understand the language at the beginning, try to understand the words, how to say them. The pronunciation is important, but not the accent at the beginning. But when you get like intermediate level on the language, then you can like focus in the on the accent. Like sometimes the accent is also important when you like want to apply for a job, for example, and the other, and you're speaking like a very like I'm not going to say the accent, but there are some English accents that are, I hate myself like watching some YouTube videos and not understanding a thing. And so the thing is, if you then start like improving your accent when your English is good. So, and that's what I did. So what I said is that when I started, I was listening to American movie, like watching American movies and all. And so my tongue got used to like just speaking American English. And also when I got intermediate level, that at that time I started focusing more on the accent, trying to pronounce, trying to focus and say the same as American people. So yeah, just to answer your question, I did not pay attention to the accent at the beginning. It was at the end of my learning process, and that's what I do with French and German right now.
I want to take us a little bit back to something that you mentioned earlier that for some reason I'm picking up right now. You moved through your scholarship to France in 2019. What was that experience like with COVID?
Oh, uh, well, that was hard. I mean, I moved to France in 2019 in October, the 10th of October, and that was before COVID, few months before COVID. And so I got to France in October. I got 3 months before COVID, and then when COVID started, I was in the east of France, and that was very difficult, to be honest. The first doing the first year in a foreign country, in a university in a foreign country, in with COVID, like I could not like when my plan before coming to France, my plan was to socialize with French people, to go out with them, speak with them, to play, to do a lot of stuff. But that just COVID ruined all of that. So I just stayed home for a lot of time, and it was difficult, to be honest. That's I struggled during that time to like specifically with the university, like in a foreign country, in a foreign language. Like I was in the university and also in French. Like most of my classes were in French, so it was very hard. But like yeah, after a year, now things are much better. So yeah, it's normal, to be honest. Like now remembering this experience. I'm happy. Like I learned a lot of stuff. Like I'm now stronger, I think.
So all of your classes were also online. Did you get to make friends during that time, or was it just because I the reason I asked, I also started I started my master's during COVID. It was like the same year I got accepted to the program. It was like a writing program. I like COVID happened, the lockdown happened, and the first year was all online, and we were a cohort of 12. So we were 12 students in the classroom, and we had multiple classes, and we were just those 12 students. And so you would imagine that we will develop a very, very intimate relationship because there's only 12 of us. But during that first year, it was very hard for us to get to know each other. Um, was very awkward. Even we tried to like have like Zoom hangouts like after class and like talk, and it was hard. We got to know each other a little bit, but it was hard. But then when we came back to the classroom, it just it only took like a couple of classes until we like just clicked. and started like to get to know each other. And I was wondering if that was your experience as well.
Well, for my experience, it was a bit different because we were more than 100 students. The first year at bachelor's, that's normal. Like we were like 120. And imagine like having a Zoom meeting with 120 students. I mean, the teacher, like we didn't not even have relationship, like, or a good relation with the teacher. Like he didn't know our names even, because it was like virtually first, and most of the students turning off their cameras. And so it was very difficult. Like I was just trying to memorize the classes, and as I said, like doing it in French, that was like French, academic French, and that's normal even with English. Academic English is different from street English. And I think that you could understand that. I mean, that's very normal. So academic French, like studying business in French, that's very different from the language I was learning on my own, like just how to speak with people, slang language, stuff like that. So it was very hard for me to start the first year with a new language at the university online. So yeah, but yeah, I did survive. So
Yeah, I'm glad you did. Maybe we should move on to your YouTube and social media presence. So I know you're a YouTuber. You post a lot of content in Arabic. A lot of it is about language, but there is a huge part of it that's about personal development, motivation, and everything else that has to do with self help. When did that journey start, and what was your intention in the beginning, and where are you now?
all right, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking it. um I said at the beginning that like my I didn't have any intention when I started YouTube. My intention was just delivering this video to my friends to see if they understand my French. That was it. So I did my French video. I bought Arabic and English subtitles as well. So Arabic people, some of my my family, I just wanted to show them I speak French. So I did translate it in English and in Arabic as well. So when I did that, so many people posted this video on Facebook from my community, Yemeni people. They posted it to other friends of like, and they just commented, "Oh, that's good. Go on," stuff like that, motivating me. And yeah, I was happy. Like I got like I think at the time 400 views, like in just few days, and that was like yeah. I mean, I was very happy with that. So I got excited and I thought like, why not start like doing other kind of videos? And at the time I was like 18 years old. I think it was in 2018 or 2017. I'm not sure. I started doing other videos speaking other languages, but like these languages, like I was also trying to learn Spanish, but even now my Spanish is bad, to be honest. I didn't focus a lot on this language. And then I started doing videos in English. Like my English was good, kinda at that time. So I was doing videos in English about self-help topics. I was interested actually in this field. I was reading some books, and so yeah, I made videos in English with Arabic subtitles, talking about the self-help topics, and people liked it. And many people, specifically from Yemen and from other Arab countries like Saudi Arabia and neighboring countries, and people posted it in their social media and all. And so, yeah, I liked it. So I continued doing videos in English at the beginning with Arabic subtitles as well, like 10 videos or something. They're not on my channel right now. I think I did like put them in private because they're just embarrassment. But uh, yeah, so after a while, I thought like most of like my audience are Arabic people. Why do the video in English and take the time to put the subtitles and all? So I just changed the concept and I did the same videos, the same topics, but in Arabic. It was easier for me, like not taking the time to put subtitles. And also it was better for a lot of people who don't speak English. They were not interested in the language. They were interested in the topics. So yeah, I started doing more videos in Arabic, talking about self-help topics, doing like some videos about my experiences. And yeah, and at that time, like as I said, like I was in high school, I was learning French, my English got a lot better. And my interest in foreign languages, like I was like getting interested in learning other languages, like even the interest in learning languages. And so I started doing videos as well in Arabic, explaining how to learn English, like these steps, I said earlier. And yeah, so that was my beginning with YouTube. And now I think I have 3,500 subscribers, and most of them are coming from Arabic countries, obviously because I speak in Arabic. And also in social media, I post like videos as well, like shorter version of these videos I'm doing in YouTube, in on Facebook and Instagram. So yeah.
So how do you balance your time? You post content on YouTube. You're a YouTuber, basically. You learning German, and you're in university, and you're a freelancer doing video editing in the side and all these other projects. How do you find the time to balance all these things, and how do you do it?
I will add to that like playing video games as well. So-
And play video games. I used to play video games when I was in high school. I used to love. There was this game, Modern Warfare 2. That was the game
Mhm.
at that time. I was in high school. After that game, I don't know what happened. I just stopped playing. My friends still play video games. I just can't get into it. I even like my little brother. I have a 12-year-old brother who has a console, and I sometimes think, oh, maybe I should bring it to my apartment and play with it. But I feel like I know if I bring it in, that would just consume me. I'm just very bad at like managing that sort of thing. I feel like it would just consume me, and I won't do anything else. But how do you do it?
Okay. So, as I said earlier, like it all comes to the interest. So, I was making videos on YouTube just as an interest. I liked it. Like it was a hobby for me. Doing like editing the videos, it was not freelance job. It was actually a hobby. Like I like editing videos, like my videos specifically. So, and also playing video games, it was a hobby. And learning languages, it was also a hobby until now. Like now in the university, even when I like do German classes, I don't like the classes, to be honest, because what we do there is kind of grammar and stuff like that. But like I do in my free time, I just listen to a German podcast. I just like watch a video like pranks on YouTube in German. So I'm kind of learning the language. So learning language is also a hobby for me. The only thing that is not a hobby for me at the time was like going to school and doing maths and physics. So that was not a hobby. But so I had three hobbies, and you can imagine when it is a hobby, you can create the time. Like I was waking up at the time, like I think at 6 o'clock in the morning. So at that time I was shooting the video. So in the early morning, because I was living with my family, they were sleeping, the house was very calm at the time. So I was just shooting the videos. I got to school at 8, I think, and stay there until 1:30 in the afternoon. When I come back, I just play video games. I play FIFA with my brother, like 2 hours or something before lunch. And after lunch, I start editing the video, like I did in the morning. It takes me like 1 hour, like at most. And so after 4, uh, now like it's like the time to learn a new language. So at the time, like I was learning French at the beginning. So I take like 2 hours learning French, and for someone else, it would be like a torture for him. Like, man, like you just came back from school and now you're learning French. I mean, come on. But for me, it was like a hobby. For him, he was going out playing football with his friends. For me, just like watching a video in French and trying to say what he's saying. And at night, I start like studying a little bit. As I said before, like I was not a good student, so I was not studying a lot, to be honest. But now I'm glad, like I did not like do the whole time studying, because as you said, I got the scholarship from learning languages. Like I did not get the scholarship because I was a good student, like doing a lot of math. So yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely that friend who all he did was play soccer. Like when I remember my childhood, if somebody tells me, "What do you remember most about your childhood?" Football or soccer every single day. Like that's all I did. Like, it was I had no books, nothing else to do. But afternoon was to play soccer, and I'm glad of it. I still play now, and it's like it's a hobby. It's a hobby. Um, I wanted to ask you about your content creating in YouTube. You said it's a hobby, but what do you get out of it? What do you get out of the impact that you are the impact? I guess this is the question. What do you get out of creating content on YouTube and the impact you're making on people?
Interesting. So as I said at the beginning, like at the beginning it was a hobby for me. Until now it is a hobby. But at the beginning I did not care like if the video was good or not. Like I would just, if I like it, then it's fine. And but like when I came here in France, uh, more people, like I got more than 1,000 subscribers, and more people were watching my videos, sharing them and all. And so at that time I thought like I must like improve the quality of my videos. So for example, I bought this mic just to improve the voice. And also I bought like a ring light for the lightning. I did not care about this stuff before. So and so yeah, why I did that, like I was spending this money, spending my time doing this. I did not get money at all from YouTube, as you already know. Like it's very hard to get money from YouTube. Like you have to like have 1,000 subscribers, and also 4,000 hours. It will take a lot of time, so it's very difficult. But the thing is, what I get from sharing these videos is that I think, from my experience, my channel is mostly about languages, like how to learn languages on your own, like self study. From my experience, when I learned French on my own, not going to a French school, paying like thousands of dollars to get like to a certain level. So I was learning it on my own using free sources on YouTube, on websites like Duolingo and other websites, and going to France and speaking with French people, and then getting the certificate, the official certificate, which is like the equivalent of IELTS in French. I got all that like with self study. So I'm thinking of those people thinking that if you want to learn a language, you have to spend a lot of money, a lot, not just little bit, like a lot of money for French school, for teachers and all. Some people have the money, and I'm fine with that. Like it gets easier when you go to schools. It gets easier. There are certified people helping you and all. But some people, they don't have the money, and that was my case. So from my experience, and like it worked with me. I did it without spending a single dollar. So I think like many people like me now, they want to do the same thing and they don't know that it's possible. So I'm just doing these videos trying to tell people you can do this. And like when I started like my first video about languages, I think I spoke in 3 languages or 2 languages. And many people from my community come to me and say, wow, how did you manage to do it? Like, wow, like we're in the same place. How did you do it? I told them I didn't go to a French school or something. Like I just learned on my own. I did that and that and that. So and many people thanked me like, oh, thank you. Now I know how to do this. And so I thought like I could continue doing more videos and more people will get the benefit of it. And yeah, so it's like sharing the knowledge. I believe in this. Like if you have some specific knowledge about something, when you share it, it gets like you get more of this knowledge. I don't, it's like a saying in Arabic, but I'm just trying to translate it. So yeah, that's my goal with this channel. Like I'm trying just to share the knowledge, and also with self-help topics, like some things I read in some books, and I find useful, like that works for me, not just self-help bullshit that you'll find a lot in a lot of videos. Like some things that work with me, I'm trying to share it in Arabic. And I believe that the content in Arabic on YouTube is very like less than the English content. Like I always tell my audience that if you try to learn English, not just for the sake of learning English, but try to learn English because there are more resources you will find, like if about any topic in English. So learn the language and also try to educate yourself. So I think some people they don't speak English, and so I'm trying to deliver these ideas and all in Arabic. So that's the what I get from sharing this content.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to, you creating, whether it's content or like sharing your knowledge. And I'm gonna ask you what the Arabic saying that you were thinking about, because, and you can say in Arabic, it's fine. Um, I think the more you talk about what you know, the sharper you get at, thinking about it, and the better you get at like speaking about it. So that's definitely the case been with me. And I try to find places where I can talk about, because I write, so, and I love writing. So I try to find spaces where I can read my writing or even talk about my writing, because I feel like it gives me a better sense of what I'm doing and how people like react to it. Um, so I want you, do you remember that Arabic saying that you were thinking about?
I'm not remember it literally, but like كل ما شاركت عن العلم اللي عندك كل ما زاد العلم اللي عندك.
Perfect. Um, Recently you posted on Instagram, and I follow you on Instagram. Recently you posted on Instagram the that you're like basically stepping out of social media as a personal use, but you'll just keep it for your content creation. Why did you make that decision, and how has it been? I think it's been like what, a week or less than that. Um,
Yeah, a week I think. Yeah. Well, so this decision was one of the hardest decisions I made in my whole life. Like I was thinking about it like for months before, even years, but I did not like do it. I just each time I was just hesitating and not doing it at the end. Social media is like is good and bad. Social media, I mean, for me, like I got a lot of advantages from social media. Without social media, I wouldn't like share these videos with people. I would not I wouldn't have like learned a lot of stuff using social media. And the other side, using social media, Instagram and TikTok. I don't have an account on TikTok, but I hate this application. I believe that it's just destroying the coming future, because there are many videos in these platforms that are just useless, and they just keep you watching without like you just scroll the screen and you don't know when you're stopping. You're just scrolling and it never ends. You're just scrolling to the end, and it never ends. It just updates each time. And that's the goal for these platforms. It's just taking your time and trying to make you spend more and more time on these platforms, Instagram, all the platforms. So, and I did that myself. Like many people think like I'm doing educational content and all. So that's correct. Like I'm creating content. 20% of my time is for creating content on social media. 80% is just consuming social media. So what I do in most of my time is just when I'm bored, I take my phone, turn on Instagram, and just watch reels of people dancing and people playing with cats, and so just stuff that will never like benefit me, and like doing that for like each day 4 hours, 5 hours. You can imagine like how bad that is. So um, when I realized, and how I realized that is when I watched a documentary. I advise you and I advise everyone watching this podcast or listening to it to watch it, which is called Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix. In this documentary, they host people who worked for Facebook, for Instagram, for Twitter, and for all these social media platforms. And those people were working at the beginnings, in the beginnings of these platforms. Like they worked in the design of these platforms. They were the CEOs of these platforms at the time, and they quit these platforms. So in this documentary, they asked them, why did you quit? What happened? These people say, we did not know at that time that we were building a monster that will do this bad to the next generations. They in this movie they say, like, it is like more than 1 hour, and they explain how social media is trying to take your time and to like a lot of negative stuff. I'm not just going to explain the whole thing. I advise you to go to watch it. So after watching this movie, it was the thing that just told me, Ali, now it's the time. If you want to build yourself, if you want to improve yourself, if you want to learn more languages, I mean, one of my goals, which is kind of hard after German maybe, is starting learning Chinese. One of my goals is doing a master's degree. One of my goals, I have a lot of goals, like a lot of people, but like with social media, that is taking my time and all. So I think it is like a bad thing. So I just did it. I just thought like I can continue creating content, and the same time I can delete these platforms, the application on my phone. So I'm just like, now what I do is, like, on Sunday, it is the time when I post a new video. I just download the app, post the video, and just delete it. And I do the same thing with Facebook. And these are the only social medias I have. And in YouTube, I just unsubscribed from all the channels that are not good. And just now, when I go to YouTube, I go to subscriptions, which many people they don't know about. Like, you can go to somewhere like it's called subscriptions, where the videos you can see in the feed are all the channels that you are subscribed to, so you don't see stupid videos. So yeah.
Yeah, I struggle a lot with the social media, and I have like a sort of, I feel like I talk about social media every single podcast, just because I also have like a very strange relationship with it. I sometimes I'm on it, sometimes I delete the apps. I can never like master like its use. I just can't control it. And the same thing with video games. I feel like if I have a console at home, I will literally play the whole day. I just can't stop. I'm not that disciplined. Um, I wanted before I let you go, I wanted to ask you what advice would you give to someone who wants to learn a new language?
All right. So if you want to learn a new language, the first thing you have to do, I will go in order so it will be easier for the listener. So now I'm Ali and I want to learn Chinese, for example. So the first thing is choose the language. Choose the language you want to learn. If it is English, then it is English. If it is Chinese, Russian, whatever. But the thing is, don't choose just any language. When you choose this language, you have to have your reasons, like important reasons why you do you want to learn Chinese. For example, I think it's very good for business. I study business, so I think it's the language for the future. I think if I speak Chinese, I will get the advantage over many people who don't speak Chinese. And so maybe you will go live in China, I don't know, but you will have to have your specific reasons. So that's the first thing. Don't just choose, oh, I will learn Spanish. Why? I don't know. It just, I like the sound of it. No, that's bad, because you will stop. So have your reasons. Why do you want to learn this language or that? The second thing is what I said at the beginning. When you start learning the language, do the steps I said before. So try to listen to the language first. Don't learn the grammar or the words. So try to listen to the language. Try to watch stuff in the language, even with Arabic subtitle or English subtitle in your native language subtitles. And then after that, you could start learning some sentences, like introducing yourself. Try to feel the thing, like When I started learning French, what I did is like when I said "Je m'appelle Ali," which means I am Ali. Wow, I felt like now I speak French. Yes, so "Je m'appelle Ali," and I continued. Like I said, like I did something like 1 minute without stopping in French. That motivates you to continue. I know some people, like in the university, for example, when I arrived here in France, we're talking uh, when I started German, they started at the beginning from scratch. But at the time, like I did have some German. Like my German was okay. So they started with the letters, with grammar, and German grammar is very hard. So all of my friends, they did not even say I am and their name. They just learn the grammar and stuff like that. And I think that's very bad. Like, just try to speak the language and try to follow all the steps I said before. I'm not going to repeat the whole thing. And so I said, choose have your reasons why you want to learn this language. Do it the right way, and then continue. The third advice is very important, which is the last one. Try to continue. Like learning a language is like a curve. Like now, the first 3 months when you start learning a language, you will go up like this, up, 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 up. Like you will learn new stuff. You will feel very good about yourself. After 3 months, like that's not the specific time, but maybe after 3 months, you will just fall. You will start facing difficulties, a lot of difficulties, like the grammar. People will like make jokes about you. Maybe native speakers, they will just say, "Oh, what are you saying?" You will get embarrassment. You will say stupid stuff. So at that time, don't stop. That's the time when many people stop, and that's the time when many people quit learning the language. If you manage to pass this downfall, you will speak the language. I assure you. It might be for 2 months, 3 months, maybe even. So try to continue. Don't stop. If you stop, you will just forget the whole thing you learned before. Continue learning, and then you will go up, 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 up. And that's the time when you will be able to speak the language, maybe after a year. So as I said at the beginning, it depends on the person. There's no specific time, but like for most people, it takes 6 months maybe to get intermediate level in a language, and then it gets more, maybe or less. It depends on the person or on the language as well. So that's the third advice, and the most important advice, that many people, they would say, "Oh, I did Spanish but I just forgot it. Oh, I did Russian, I forgot it," because they stopped in the third month. So yeah, I think if you do these three things, you will be able to speak a language.
All right, so that's our time. Um, Again, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure, and like I'm so glad. And for those of you who don't know, we literally got connected on YouTube because he commented on one of my posts, on one of my previous interview with Abdurrahman bin Damnan, and you happen to know Abdurrahman, and so he told me, "Oh, you should
Yeah.
interview him. He'd be very interesting." And so I reached out, and you said yes all the time, right away, and you worked with the different time zone. So again, Ali, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I hope we do this again.
Yeah, I hope
Thank
so. Thank you so much.
thank you.